So we've got some news about Wendy Williams. It seems her diagnosis has suddenly changed. And this could be good news, but let's face it, it's going to be a really long battle for Wendy to try to get her freedom back. But how did she lose it in the first place? For 13 seasons, Wendy Williams wasn't just a talk show host, she was an unstoppable force. The Wendy Williams Show was a daily cultural event with her famous catchphrase, "How you doing?" She pulled in millions of viewers, dishing on celebrity gossip with raw honesty that was both shocking and totally irresistible. She was a radio legend, a best-selling author, a producer who had built a brand on being powerful and in charge. To her fans, she was just an open book. The whole situation really kicked off in early 2022 when Wendy went to her bank, Wells Fargo, only to find that she was locked out. Her accounts holding her entire fortune were completely frozen. Now, I would have shit myself. I don't even know what I would have done. And this is what terrifies me about banks because they can do something like this to such a high profile individual. But not only was she locked out of her accounts, the bank then did something pretty shocking. It petitioned a New York court to place Wendy under a guardianship. In the court filing, Wells Fargo said it had strong reason to believe Wendy was a victim of undue influence and financial exploitation, and she was of unsound mind. Apparently, the alarm bells first went off for Wendy's financial advisor, who worried she was being taken advantage of. Even though Wendy had a power of attorney set up with her son, Kevin Hunter Jr., Wells Fargo challenged it, suspecting he was the one that was the undue influence. The bank argued that it had the right to block transactions if they suspected someone was being exploited or was suffering from dementia. Wendy fought back, claiming her own team was messing with her money, but it was too late. The legal gears were already turning, and the bank she'd trusted to protect her money was now arguing that she needs to be protected from herself. To really get why the bank took such a drastic step, you have to rewind a little. The years before the guardianship were filled with several struggles for Wendy, both public and private. She's always been open about her past battles with addiction, her Graves' disease, which is what caused her eyes signature bulging, and lymphedema, which made her feet swell. But things took a sharp turn in September of 2021, just as her show was supposed to start a new season. Wendy was hospitalized for a psych eval. Rumors about her cognitive health started flying, and whispers of early onset dementia, something her family strongly denied even back then. Her health problems eventually led to the Wendy Williams Show being canceled for good in June of 2022. All of these public health scares mixed with reports of erratic behavior created a story of a woman in a decline and likely gave Wells Fargo the justification it felt it needed to step in. Once the bank filed its petition, the New York court system moved really fast. In May of 2022, a judge placed Wendy under a temporary legal guardianship, appointing a lawyer named Sabrina Morrissey to manage her finances and her health. Morrissey was a total stranger who now held the keys to every single part of Wendy's life. A guardianship, which you might know of as a conservatorship, is a huge legal step. It's usually safe for people who a court decides is incapacitated, meaning they can't manage their own lives in some way. And Wendy was furious. Her lawyer said she was completely against the decision. She went from being a CEO of her own life to needing permission to do just basically anything. Then the whole court case was sealed, wrapping the process in secrecy and leaving Wendy and all of her fans wondering how this could have possibly happened. For months, the exact reasons for the guardianship remained a mystery, and then in February of 2024, an announcement dropped that seemed to explain everything. Wendy's care team revealed that in 2023, she had been diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia, or FTD. Put a pin in that and remember that. 2023, they're saying she was diagnosed. All right. These are absolutely devastating diagnoses. Aphasia messes with your ability to communicate, and FTD is a cruel brain disease that damages the parts of your brain that control personality, behavior, and language. It's actually the same disease that forced Bruce Willis into retirement. And for a lot of people, this news made everything click into place. The strange behavior, the on-air struggles, It all started to make sense. Later on, her guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, would tell the court that Wendy was cognitively impaired, permanently disabled, and legally incapacitated because of the dementia. This diagnosis became the official medical reason for the guardianship, sealing the court's view that Wendy couldn't care for herself. Life under the guardianship, in Wendy's own words, has been a nightmare. During a fiery interview on The Breakfast Club in January of this year, she called it emotional abuse and said it felt like being in prison. She claimed that she was cut off from her bank accounts, her credit cards, and even her fucking phone. The 2024 Lifetime documentary, Where's Wendy Williams, painted an even darker picture. It showed a woman who seemed isolated and confused, constantly asking where her money went. The documentary's producers even filed a lawsuit later, claiming the guardianship had isolated her from her family, left her largely alone and unattended in her apartment, and exacerbated her self destructive behavior. Her requests to see her family were denied at first, which is totally insane. First of all, I thought that with dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that, it's better to be around people you're familiar with. And yet they isolated her from her family. That's just so cruel and so toxic and crazy to me. I can't even, I just don't understand it. And while she was eventually allowed to see her family, it just showed how much control the guardian really had. This wasn't the queen of media anymore. It was a woman trapped in a gilded cage, fighting for her basic freedoms. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, the story took a shocking turn. Throughout 2025, Wendy has been telling anyone who will listen that her condition isn't as bad as it's been made out to be. I am not cognitively impaired, she declares, insisting she passed mental competency tests with flying colors. And then, actually, this month, her fight for freedom got a massive boost because, according to reports, Wendy saw a top neurologist in New York for a round of tests. The stunning results? The doctor reportedly found no signs of frontotemporal dementia. None. The new medical opinion directly contradicts the diagnosis that's been the very foundation of her guardianship. So, this is a total game changer. Her legal team is now reportedly getting ready to file a motion to end the guardianship for good. If the judge says no, they plan to demand a jury trial, which sounds a lot like the Free Britney movement that took the world by storm. It all leads to one massive question. If the dementia diagnosis is wrong, what's the justification for keeping a woman locked out of her own life and her own fortune? Now, remember when I said to put a pin in that frontotemporal dementia? Well, I want to take a look at just what exactly frontotemporal dementia is and what it's aphasia, and let's see how quickly they progress. Because it's been since 2022 or 2023 when her erratic behavior was going on and they diagnosed her. And so now here we are at the end of 2025 and she doesn't seem to be getting any worse, right? And how could that be if in fact she did have those diagnoses? So the decline from primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia varies significantly between individuals, but it's a progressive decline that can range from a few years to over 20 years. On average, the time from onset of symptoms to death is about 7 to 13 years for FTD. It's been what? Almost 3, 4 years since Wendy was diagnosed. So we're to believe that it's possible that she could be deceased in another 3 years due to this FTD and aphasia. Yeah, exactly. While the life expectancy for PPA after diagnosis is around 12 years, though this can vary. PPA is a type of FTD, and the progression is characterized by a gradual loss of language skills, followed by other cognitive and behavior impairments as the disease worsens. And again, I just have a hard time believing it. I really do. Specifically, frontotemporal dementia, FTD, the average time frame symptoms progress over 8 to 10 years, but this can vary widely from as little as 2 years to over 20 years. And then we've got primary progressive aphasia, and it says that average time frame, the typical life expectancy is about 12 years after diagnosis. And again, we're like 3, 4 years into it, right? With a range of 3 to 12 years after the onset of symptoms. Now, show you all this to say, where's the decline? Because Wendy seems actually better than she was at the onset of all her symptoms. And if you do recall, she was drinking heavily, going through a lot of, stress and mental health issues and things like that. And drinking with some of the other diseases that she has, a lot of things can be affected by that. And so I just find it really disturbing that a bank can come in and within a year, your entire life is gone. You can't even visit your family. You can't own a cell phone. Like that shit is crazy to me. And why in the hell was a lawyer, a random stranger, appointed guardianship of Wendy when she had several, and I mean several family members that could have been her guardian? It is so suspicious to me. They did it with Britney. They did it with Bam Margera. We've heard Nicki Minaj maybe getting looked at for a conservatorship. Lil Nas X, we saw him going through some mental health crisis. These celebrities just get taken all for their money. And if you really think about it, with the state of affairs of the banks nowadays, they are a few account shutdowns or money withdrawals away from shutting down, because for every dollar that you place in the bank loans out $30 to somebody else. And so nobody actually has real money in the bank. The bank just takes your money and then just spins it around. It's like a revolving door. And I feel like that's why when Wendy went to get money out, that's probably why they did it in the first place, because they didn't want to give her money. But you have to be really careful with banks, especially nowadays. And especially if you're a fucking celebrity, and especially if you've got a lot of money. Don't ever, ever, ever place your eggs all in one basket, because these banks are absolutely just vultures. So how did Wendy Williams end up here? It was a perfect storm. It started when her bank got worried about financial exploitation, which I don't believe. And it was sped up by her very public health issues and rumors about her mental state. It was all too easy for them to come in and toss her ass into a conservatorship. And honestly, I do think a lot of the people in the legal system, judges and all that, I don't trust any of them. It's all one big conspiracy theory to me, because I think they're all paid off. I think it's a network of these people who throw people into conservatorships and guardianships, and they just, take their money. That's what I think. But anyways, I digress. It was all cemented by a devastating dementia diagnosis that's now being seriously questioned, because they don't think it's actually true. Wendy's story pulls back the curtain on the world of guardianships, a legal tool that's designed to protect, but it is also something that can destroy a person's freedom. The biggest question is no longer just where is Wendy Williams, but will Wendy Williams ever be free? As her lawyers get ready to fight the very basis of her confinement, the world is watching to see if the queen of media can finally reclaim her throne, her fortune, and most importantly, her life. This story is unfolding right now, and Wendy's freedom is hanging in the balance. If you want to stay updated on this case and others like it, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because it's the best channel ever. We're going to reach 1 million subscribers by the end of the week, so make sure you hit that button, okay? More importantly, I want to know what you think about all this. What do you think about guardianships? Is this a case of a broken system doing its best to protect a vulnerable person? Or is this same system trapping an innocent woman? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.